In this week's episode, we narrow in on the current state of the market for sockeye and chum salmon. As Alaska's sockeye season winds down, fishermen were able to bring in over 44 million fish, a level similar to the long-term average. However, as we report on this, once frozen sockeye fillets continue to be in very limited supply, and pricing is significantly higher than last year. Moving on, 2 to 4 pound H&G sockeyes are in high demand and extremely hard to source. As well, it appears that inventories of 4 to 6 pound H&Gs are limited, and we were advised that pricing is to lead an upward trend. So the question is, with such an impressive 2020 harvest of Alaskan sockeye, where did all the inventories go? SeafoodNews.com recently reported that seafood was the fastest growing supermarket category during the last week of May. Multiple reports over the last few months have explained how overall seafood purchasing at supermarkets and other stores have set new records. According to Nielsen, that trend has not slowed down. Nation's Restaurant News recently reported as well that increases in meat and poultry prices have allowed restaurants to use fish and shellfish as the base for menu creativity. As the COVID-19 pandemic interrupted food service, that forced consumers to rediscover their stovetops and ovens and begin preparing seafood at home. In fact, contrary to popular belief that seafood is mostly consumed in restaurants, a new paper out in June revealed that when measuring by weight, the majority of seafood is eaten in-home. Although when measuring by dollars spent, most money spent on seafood happens at restaurants. This paper was based on pre-pandemic statistics in the U.S., and having a pre-pandemic baseline should be very useful for the industry moving forward. Although retail demand for salmon has spiked throughout the pandemic, we still cannot undercut the amount of seafood demand driven by food service sales, and that those sales have yet to match pre-COVID levels. Fresh intel to Tradex is also showing that the most sought-after restaurant foods right now are seafood and Mexican food, and that dining restaurants are recovering better than other food service establishments. To this end, we don't believe retail sales are the main driver for the limited availability of sockeye, rather that current inventories are presently waiting in freezers. Our recommendation for sockeye buyers is similar to a few weeks ago, which is to secure your supply now. Sockeye prices are anticipated to make a good bull run before moving into a bear-type market. As reported in our last salmon update, we could not count on much sockeye supply to come out of Canada's BC salmon fishery again this year, and Russia's salmon fishery is also expecting a smaller run this year. Moving on to the current chum salmon market, here's our recommendation. Chum salmon buyers need to make moves now, and if you need this fish, buy it now. Alaska's chum salmon season is being described as disastrous. As reported on ASME's Salmon Harvest Update number 9, year-to-date Kita harvest totals 4.7 million fish, about 10 million fewer than the 5-year average. Production has been particularly slow in the Arctic Yukon, Kuskokwim, and Southeast region, and Kodiak was down about 20% from the 2019 pace. As well, the Prince William Sound area was 36% behind. In Washington, the 2019 chum salmon fishery saw only 287,000 chums harvested, compared to the previous years where the state catch typically sees about 1 million fish. Fishery managers have already warned of another tough year. In Russia, 36.6 million chums were harvested in 2019, and the catch for 2020 is forecasted to come in lighter than the previous year. And lastly, just as a quick note on the salmon situation in Asia. In speaking to our VP of Asia Operations, he advised that they are anticipating that new season chums won't be available until the end of September, and that salmon will certainly be very short this year. Both from Russia and Alaska, where Alaskan fish will be shorter, and the estimated raw material pricing will go up to $4,300 per metric ton, which translates to about $1.95 to $2 a pound US. Check out our Salmon Buyers Update from August 3, 2020 in the links below for full coverage on all Pacific wild salmon. Thank you for joining me for the Tradex Foods 3-Minute Market Insight. This has been Tasha Cadence, reminding you to stay safe, buy smart, and eat more seafood.